Yo, what's good, gamers? Welcome back to each and every one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news. Now, this should come as no surprise to you. I have been Steve Danuser's biggest critic pretty much since day one. So, the fact of the matter is, there's been rumors circulating. We have not been able to fully confirm it, but it is all but confirmed, considering the fact that Steve Danuser has updated his bio on Twitter, basically telling everyone that he's leaving Twitter. And if you go over to Blue, his bio says nothing about him being, at Blizzard anymore. Also, when you look at Blizzard's own website, it appears as if they're looking for a lead narrative designer. So yeah, at this point, I think it's all but confirmed that Steve Danuser has indeed left Blizzard Entertainment. Now, according to the reports that we've been getting, Steve Danuser has left Blizzard Entertainment, or basically took a step back from Blizzard Entertainment in November of last year. So literally, as Chris Mason was confirmed to be the new big kahunas at Blizzard Entertainment, Steve Danuser said, right, that's me. I'm out of here. Now, I'm obviously not going to make a video just telling you that. Of course, it is great news. And I want to say to anyone that might be going, dude, why are you celebrating someone losing their job? Why wouldn't I? I have not been a fan of Steve Danuser. Do I want Steve Danuser to just slip into oblivion and never work anywhere ever again? No, of course not. I wish him all the best. He has had a wonderful career. He is pretty well versed in the industry. I'm pretty sure that Steve Danuser will find another job fairly quickly with at another gaming company, as long as it's not a gaming company that I frequent. I have no problem with it. I had a problem with Steve Danuser and the way that he wrote World of Warcraft. We just didn't see eye to eye. It doesn't make him a bad writer. In fact, I think Steve Danuser is a very good writer if the type of stories that he tells is the kind of stories that you enjoy. It just so happens that it isn't for me. And that is just how it works in books and novels and authors and an audience. Not all authors and all novelists are going to appeal to all audiences. And the same is true for gaming. Now, there's a number of rumors, and that's the reason I want to make this video. I'm calling these rumors basically because I have not been able to confirm it. So the way I usually do things, if I call it a source, if I tell you that I have sources and it is confirmed, it is because I have spoken to multiple people at the company and they have all corroborated what I've been hearing, or at least all of their stories appear to overlap on very specific areas. Then those specific areas will become fact and I will believe them until I am presented with evidence otherwise. If I only have one or two people telling me things, I'm I'm not going to call it like confirmed. I'm not going to tell you that that is absolutely what happened. In this instance, I have one person and then another person that kind of told me stuff, but there was no overlap between the two. So it is just a rumor. It's not a source. I don't know, because it could just be some disgruntled employee at Blizzard that is feeding me information that they think I may believe. Right. So it is rumors at this point, even though I have confirmed that it is a person that worked at Blizzard that told me these things. But okay, that being said, we have to rewind a little bit. So first, I want to tackle this idea, this rewriting of history that is currently taking place online. A lot of people are sort of going, they don't think Steve Danuser deserved all the hate that he's been getting. They don't think that he deserved all the harassment. Now, I will agree with you. You should never harass someone. Criticisms is one thing. The problem for me, though, is that a lot of people seem to be mixing up criticism and harassment. I myself have been accused of harassing Steve Danuser. I have never sent an email to Steve Danuser. I've never sent a tweet to Steve Danuser. I have never personally spoken to Steve Danuser or hounded Steve Danuser for anything that he had done. I have only ever criticized his work. That is criticism, that isn't harassment. And the problem is that a lot of people seem to be getting that mixed up. When you criticize someone, you are also then somehow harassing them. I get harassed every single day of my life. Sadly, it is just part of the public choice. If you make a choice to be public, you're going to be harassed. Probably in this video, I'm going to have to hide a bunch of people calling me fat, calling me ugly, calling me stupid, don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. My DMs are probably going to be filled by people who are apologizing for the news or telling to kill myself. That's just going to happen, and you accept that. You just take it and you move on, because what does some random fuck on the internet know about you and your life? You don't need to care about that, right? Ultimately, I want to get that out of the way. So let's examine the timeline, shall we, while we're here. Chris Mayton has been in charge of the World of Warcraft storyline front and center. It is his baby from vanilla all the way up to round about the end of Mist of Pandaria, the early parts of World of Draenor. The problem is, the reason we can't really nail down when exactly Chris Mayton took his step back is we know that Chris Mayton left a lot of work. And because we don't exactly know what the internal sort of cycles are for storytelling, it could be that Chris Mayton was also then responsible for Legion. So before he left, he wrote the whole story for Legion, right? So we don't know. We can only go off when he left Blizzard and so on and so forth. But we know that he left, towards the end of Mist of Pandaria, early World of Draenor, and then Alex Afrasiabi became the new creative director for World of Warcraft. This means that Alex Afrasiabi, now in the past, Chris Mayton would deal with not just World of Warcraft, he would be kind of the creative director for all Blizzard IPs. So any Blizzard IP that had a story would go through Chris Mayton. Chris Mayton stepping back meant that every single one of these IPs now needed to have their own creative director, because there was just no one at Blizzard that could do the job that Chris Mayton was doing. No one was as intimately familiar with all of the IPs that they could actually write stories for all of these IPs. And it wasn't a problem. All of the IPs got their own creative directors. Alex Afrasiabi, of course, became the creative director for World of Warcraft. As the creative director for World of Warcraft, Alex Afrasiabi, I know for a fact, oversaw Legion and oversaw BFA and wrote Shadowlands. That I know for a fact. But this is where the waters sort of start to get murky, because we know that Alex Afrasiabi, in the middle of Shadowlands, was let go from Blizzard. They told him to take his shit and leave. This is during the massive lawsuits. However, at the time of Alex Afrasiabi being let go by Blizzard, we were told that Alex Afrasiabi had been on hiatus from Blizzard for almost a year already. So it's almost as if, and this is according to rumors, Alex Afrasiabi, Blizzard knew what Alex Afrasiabi was doing. They also knew that temperatures were rising within the company. They were well aware that there were people who were very upset about the stuff that Alex was involved in. And so they knew that shit was coming down the pipeline. So Blizzard sort of had this genius idea. We'll just ask him to leave. We'll ask him to sort of take a break, go relax, paid leave, but you can't be at the company. And they were hoping that this would sort of quell the anger. They were hoping that people would sort of chill out. Of course, I don't think they could even have known how deep the rot inside Blizzard actually ran. And we're now getting reports that the rot isn't even gone. As early as last year, people were absolutely mistreated at Blizzard Entertainment, but that's not for this video. We're not going to be discussing that right now. But okay, so from what we can tell, Alex Afrasiabi left about 6 months before the launch of Shadowlands. That's when he was sort of worked out of the company. At first, they were thinking of bringing him back eventually, but then, of course, when the lawsuits happened, they were like, oh, shit, never mind. Let's all just forget that this guy ever existed, and it seems like he forgot that he existed as well. And then, of course, Steve Danuser took over at Shadowlands as the guy in charge of the story. And then Dragonflight, we know for a fact, because this has been confirmed by multiple creators with multiple sources, myself included, that Dragonflight truly was Steve Danuser's baby. He was the one solely responsible for the writing of Dragonflight. Now, based on rumors, again, rumors meaning I have sources, but I've not been able to corroborate this with other sources. Based on the rumors, Shadowlands, and the reason I'm gonna believe these rumors, the reason I'm sort of biased towards these rumors, they match with what I have been saying and what I've believed, and with the reality of what I can tell or what I can see, right? What I've been told is when Alex Afrasiabi was asked to take his stuff and get out quietly, Steve Danuser basically came in with a hammer and just hacked the shit out of the Shadowlands story. From what I've been able to piece together from different rumor sources, Sylvanas was always meant to be the anti-hero of Shadowlands. She was either going to die, so that's one of the sources that I've talked to, said that she was supposed to die and she would eventually return as something much more terrifying or much stronger than what she was in life well, in unlife, I guess you could say, but she was always poised to die. But her death would have been a sacrifice for us to see the truth of what was actually happening. And that was the way that the story was meant to play out. We were hunting Sylvanas as our enemy, and then we would realize that she was never the enemy. She was actually the one leading us towards the enemy. And in order to do that, she basically had to become the villain. Otherwise, we would not have been so fervent in finding her. Steve Danuser did not like that story. He felt like that story wasn't quite the way that he wanted to tell it. And so he took a hammer to the story, smashed it up, and changed it into what we have with Shadowlands. And the reason I'm poised to believe this is if you look at Shadowlands, I said this from day one. It looks like there's been rewrites, like last minute rewrites. You look at the quality of some of the cinematics, and you just go, this looks like it's been thrown together in the last week. Like, it looks terrible. Like, look, Blizzard's in-game cinematics has never looked brilliant. At least nowadays it looks phenomenal, right? But in the past, prior to Shadowlands, the in-game cinematics would look dog poo. But it looked extra dog poo in Shadowlands. And as soon as this person told me, yeah, because we had to rewrite the whole fucking story, and so all of these cinematics had to be done very, very quickly because the cinematics that we had done already wasn't going to work anymore. I was like, yeah, I believe that, right? I 100% believe that because my own eyes tell me, yeah, that makes sense. They kept the story in such a way that the big cinematics could still work. So all of the big moment, the aha cinematics could still work, like the Sylvanas Tyrande fight and stuff like that. So they basically had to do this whole sort of acrobatics move where some of the story could change so that they could get Sylvanas ultimately to this place where she wasn't actually in control and she was being mind controlled, because ultimately what they wanted to do is they wanted to ensure that Sylvanas would still come back, right? But then let's move on, right? DF is now fully wholly Danuser's baby. And I'm the first to admit DF isn't great. I have not enjoyed the story of DF. It's not been my style. I don't like the whole power of friendship bullshit. I prefer war, destruction, and death. That's what I want. I want the grim darkness with the lighthearted touch that World of Warcraft is so incredibly famous for. But all right, so here's where we get into like the proper rumor mill now. Now, we were told, and this has been confirmed by, I would say, just the sheer volume of people that have spoken about this. I know Taliesin said this, Balila said this, I had a source that told me this. So we know that when Chris Mason was brought back, and this has now been almost like a year and a half that Chris Mason has been back. Remember, he first came back to Blizzard as an advisor, right? So in an advisory position. And then around about last year, October, November, he finally signed up and he said, right, I will now come back to Blizzard and I will lead the Warcraft IP team, right? So, but he's been back for a while. The rumors and the sources that we have confirm that there was a massive amount of infighting in Blizzard during this time. There were a sizable number of writers that did not at all like the direction of Mateson's story. They did not feel like Mason was taking the story in the direction that they wanted it to go in, and they weren't happy about it. And so it took them a long time as Blizzard to sort of hash things out so that everyone would be on board with Mateson's vision. Now, from what I've been told, Mason was very, very strong-minded and willed. It wasn't like he was compromising with these writers. Mason was basically saying, you're on board or you're out, or I'm out, right? It's as simple as that. This is the story. This is where I want the story to go, and I'm not going to deviate from this. Now, of course, we know, again, the source, or rumors really, I'm getting confused with all of these rumors and sources, but okay. The rumors suggest that some of the writers left, and the others were now on board with Mason's thing, and Mason got announced. And now we have Danuser stepping in. Now, here is where I think it starts to become proper rumor, but I do think the evidence may align here, right? Danuser was one of these people that were very, very unhappy with Chris Mason's writing. He didn't want the storylines that Chris Mason was suggesting. He wanted his own thing. Now, I've been able to speak to one person that claims that they know exactly what goes on there. I know they work for Blizzard, but I can't confirm if they actually knew. But from what I've been told, there's been this I guess you could say, thought process that has run through certain writers in World of Warcraft that believed that stories like World of Warcraft should be a force for good in the world. With the world falling apart and everyone being at each other's throats, World of Warcraft should be that story that sort of bridges the gap, that teaches people that we can get along without slaughtering and killing each other. It should be nice stories that people can sort of enjoy and smile and laugh about. That was their thinking philosophy. Like their philosophy, at least, was the power of friendship, effectively. Now, this matches up with reality. We can see that in Dragonflight. This happened time and time again in Dragonflight. But since I only have the one person that told me this, take it with all the salt in the world. I don't know what to tell you. But if that is true, and this is not confirmed, this is just me speculating, I would argue this was Steve Danuser's camp. And this is the reason. Because now, here's the thing. Steve Danuser was not fired. All of the reports we get at the moment is that Steve Danuser voluntarily stepped down once Chris Mason came into power. And to be fair, Chris Mason's job should not threaten Steve Danuser's job. They don't do the same job. Chris Mason is in charge of the Warcraft IP and the storylines for all Warcraft games. Every game within that genre, within that IP, will still require a lead narrative designer to actually design the narrative as laid out by Chris Mason. So the fact that Steve Danuser left as soon as Chris Mason was appointed suggests to me that he was very much on the side of goody-goody two-shoot storytelling, wanting to preach to the world that there is a better way. We don't have to fight as long as you can admit that you're wrong. Even if you don't look like you're wrong, even if players look at this story and go, well, actually, I think the good guys are the fucked up ones in this one. It doesn't matter. We've decided that this is the good guys and you are the bad guys, and therefore you have to admit that you're wrong. There's plenty of storylines like that in Dragonflight, but never mind. It all bodes well, I think, for the future of WoW. I think the fact that we're seeing these moves, the fact that many of these rumors are now coming out, suggests to me that the story for the War Within may actually return us to the light-hearted, semi-grim darkness universe of World of Warcraft, where it is dark, it is gritty, but it's always dealt with in a very cartoony and sort of light-hearted and fun way. So I'm hopeful. Anyways, I'm going to be out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the like button. If you're a patron, thank you so much. Remember, for $1 a month, you too can help keep sponsorships from this channel. Annoying segments that basically want to sell you stuff that you do not need. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I shall see all of you in the next one. Peace.